Star Citizen Alpha 3.14 is the Q2 patch and is the next major patch for Star Citizen's persistent universe, pegged for release around the end of June 2021. It's had a few features pushed back to the next major patch 3.15 that we disappointingly found out about relatively recently, and this makes the patch feel a bit lighter, notably moving medical gameplay, personal inventory, FPS scanning and hacking to that 3.15 patch, largely due to these requiring more work and expanding somewhat as tasks. However, 3.14 still has a solid amount of content there, and it's not completely gutted, and I wanted to do a bit of a summary of what we're expecting to get and what we're not. There is a massive addition with updates to Crusader, turning it into a visitable location and the first gas giant in-game. There is supposed to be other gameplay and locations to visit around the planet other than just its major landing zone, however, we don't know to what extent yet. I'd also expect the area of space around Crusader to change somewhat to accommodate for gameplay that's going to be added. Orison is the major landing location there. It's a floating cloud city, a series of platforms make up Orison, and it looks like we're getting at least parts of the commercial hab platforms, spaceport and industrial platform in its first release, with hospitals and more being released later in the year. There is a focus on making this location look amazing, with cherry blossoms and beautiful gardens and lots of tech going into making the huge viewing distances and open spaces look great when here. I believe that the Crusader Security Outreach Office, where the mission givers Gibbs and Batista are going to be, is coming a bit later as well, not with its initial release. There is Planetary Volumetric Clouds V1, which is the initial version of a new bespoke system to convincingly render multi-layered volumetric clouds of varying scale within planetary atmospheres. This will not only help make Crusader and Orison look great, but can also be used for clouds on other planets too, and weather systems in the future, I believe. You want ships? The long-awaited Constellation Taurus is here. This is the stripped-down, cargo-focused version of that ship series, and we could potentially see a little update to all the other constellations at the same time, because they've been talking about removing cockpit struts and an update to the cockpit experience, and obviously these ships need a little bit of an update with them getting ready for physicalized components and things like that as well. So we could even see a little bit of an internal update, maybe. That's not confirmed, but I do think it's reasonably sort of viable for that to be a thing. Also, the Constellation Taurus, I expect it to be pretty popular. It's relatively cheap for what it is. It's a very good multi-role, multi-crew ship. Yes, there's a cargo focus, and it's going to be a bit cheaper than the other constellations, and you sort of like can build it up from there. I think it's going to be very, very popular once it's out. Another one of the more major features here in this patch is capacitor gameplay, which has been since renamed Power Management version 2, which includes the integration of the capacitor system and a rebalance of all connected systems. Players will have the ability to manage the amount of energy, and extra energy that goes into thrusters, weapons and shields, making critical decisions on the distribution of that energy in order to defend, attack, or pursue and evade. This has massive changes to energy weapons as well, it sounds like, because they'll need to periodically sort of charge their capacitors to fire even, so you can't just hold the button down. All of this is going to be a massive change to combat, and it's the feature I am most concerned about, as it could make or break fun dogfighting. To help account for that as well, there's general improvements to the cockpit experience, and they're updating all the ship's HUDs to use the new canvas slice system, providing an improved layout that maximizes screen real estate and provides more info and depth to pilots. We've got the missile operator mode as well, which is going to change combat somewhat, because you'll have to choose whether you use missiles or conventional weapons, unless it's a multi-crew ship, in which case you can have people sort of focusing on certain tasks. So missiles will now be controlled under a dedicated missile operator mode, which gives players the option to select and fire missiles while operating in that mode, and different types of missile and torpedo to be selected easily. We're going to see more and more operator modes for ships as they expand out the functions and each of the sort of gameplay loops for each of these different things, whether it's scanning, whether it's missile operator mode, whether it's some other focused task, and they're going to split them up, partly for multi-crew gameplay, but also partly because it's sensible to split them up. This is going to make missiles operate in a very different manner, because you'll have to think about how you use them and engage with them, but larger ships that have more Crew seats will be able to fire missiles and their conventional weapons simultaneously. Missiles are getting more updates as well beyond that too, with a guidance and control rework, converting them to use the IFC-S2 guidance and control systems. This will improve missile performance and tracking ability, enabling greater control over missile behaviors. We have radar, scanning and ping updates as well. Radar is used to passively locate and track contacts and display their whereabouts to the player. Scanning is used to obtain information about a specific entity. Ping actively finds additional contacts or can highlight volumes of space to investigate weak signatures, both of which are displayed via the radar and its augmented reality HUD elements. So they're updating these systems to look better visually and to give deeper information about what you're scanning and detecting, but also signatures can hide in each other and you might have to get closer to detect signatures that are hidden within another sort of scanning blobs. You'll be able to scan those and get a bit more information about what you're actually detecting in them, and they'll look visually different. This is going to allow for much deeper stealth gameplay, along with making scanning and detection significantly more important, and is steps towards much deeper exploration gameplay and much more interesting mission content and scanning down targets and all that sort of jazz as you go about the verse. There are some more updates to the lore system, and they're finally adding surrendering, so that's going to allow players to be arrested without losing their lives. They will need to surrender by coming to a halt and powering down their ship when ordered to by security, and then security will halt their attack if you do that, and impound the ship if owned by a criminal, and also put you in prison basically, but hopefully for less time than if you were shot, pew-pewed and killed. There are various other potential things we could get with Alpha 3.14 during the cycle as well. Additional missions, so Orison and Crusader are big places, and it makes sense that we'll get more missions associated with that area and some updates to the space around to accommodate. It's also possible as well that we might see the replacement of Port Olisar soon, potentially with that 3.14 patch, because they'll want to get it into the same state as some of the other major stations above planets, like Balshani Point and Port Tressler. It makes sense. Port Olisar does not have all the features that they want in those stations. It does not have proper areas for food, for example. They're going to want to expand out its sort of shop offerings. We saw some economy and cargo updates during Fleet Week, and I'm expecting some more cargo opportunities with the Orison landing zone, and a bit more of an economy rebalance as well, as more shops and stuff like that become added to the game. But we're going to see improvements and changing prices of commodities and trade alerts and stuff like that. There's more ships that are possible. Cloud Imperium typically like to have some new straight-to-flyable or drivable vehicles, even if it's just variants of stuff. For patches like these, they go, oh, we've got this new vehicle as well, and we've had things like the 400i and Xi'an cargo ship and a potential Argo raft and the longbow and lots of other ships that are potentially, I suppose, possible. I mean, some of these are concept, but something could turn up here, as I said, even if it's just a little variant of something. The Hercules C2, M2, Nova Tank, Rock DS, and Cyclone MT are all potentials for being put into in-game shops with 3.14 as well. It's possible that they'll want to wait a little while before they put the Hercules and Nova Tank in, because obviously they've only just recently been released with Fleet Week, but I'm hoping that they chuck them in early rather than later. Sometimes new features turn up as well, even just before a patch goes live, even during the PTs phase. Typically they're more minor, but we could see some other stuff. And Cloud Imperium have talked about two events coming up in the near term, the Nine Tails Lockdown and something called the Infiltrator event. I don't know much about Infiltrator at all, but the Nine Tails Lockdown will have lots of combat missions and working together with players to deal with pirates, and there should be the advancement of sort of like the dynamic mission system beyond what we had at the Xenothreat event. Both of these could well be part of the 3.14 branch of the game, but might not be with the initial 3.14.0 release. I don't think we're going to see a persistence wipe for the patch, though they always say they will do one if necessary. They haven't indicated they need to do one for this patch, which is currently a good thing. We can expect testing of the patch to start around mid-June, in Ivacati at least, and then it will move into PTU phases and public testing towards the end of June, if all goes well. And if all goes perfectly, then you'll see the patch released at the end of June. However, typically and historically, Cloud Imperium take a week or two longer to get the patch out live after their sort of like end-of-month deadline. So bear that in mind. It does depend on how testing goes in the PTU phases though, and there is always the chance that features will get pushed back at the last minute. But let's hope not. Let's hope that more stuff gets put in and the patch is of a good stability and has lots of new features and the performance is good. But only time will tell. Boom! That's it. That's what we know about the 3.14 patch so far, as well as what I reckon we could see. What do you think of the features for 3.14 as they stand at the moment? Is the patch a bit too light in content for you, especially after a pretty light 3.13 patch? Although we did have Fleet Week as part of that, which is pretty good. Do you think there will be a lot of new missions or things to do in Orison and Crusader beyond looking around in its first implementation? Could Port Olisar get replaced in this patch? Do you think we'll see the Ninetales lockdown event? Whatever your thoughts, I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. Oh, what's this? I just found all your search history online. You filthy boy, buying spaceships and going on Ship Hub. Zin, show a picture of a sexy ship or something. You should have used NordVPN. It's a VPN, obviously, and it has my seal of approval because I shill for them. Use the links below to get a discount and help protect your data, identity, privacy, and to help with online accessibility. I'm shilling for spaceships today. Do you like building spaceships? Of course you do. JR Fabrication make officially licensed Star Citizen products and Airfix-like model kits. Do you want an Arrow fighter? Maybe a Freelancer? Some Cyclone little buggies? Dragonflies? Oh my, you can buy them and build them, or just add them to your pile of shame. You want dioramas of ships and vehicles? They've got them too, and they continue to add more to their range. Follow the link down below to jrfabrication.co.uk/board to see all of the wonderful products they have on offer, and use the code BoredInvictus to also get some exclusive Fleet Week recruitment propaganda A3 art prints with each of your orders. Ooh. Every month we have a ship giveaway, and June is no different. We are giving away a Mercury Star Runner to one lucky viewer that comments on one of my videos made during June on the YouTubes. Just get involved in the comment section, ask a question, or tell me what you think about the video or the subject we were discussing. Thank you so much to my channel members who have pressed the join button below my videos, and my Patreons as well. Going the extra mile really, really helps the channel. Say thanks for helping the channel, Zin.
Thanks for helping the channel, Zin.
Consider becoming a channel member or Patreon as well, and maybe you'll get some poorly photoshopped naughty spaceship shots. Ooh, saucy. Thanks for watching and all your support.